Here's how I was able to start trimming Mikey's nails in under 7 days of training when he used to run away from the nail clippers and the Dremel tool. He's had so many knee surgeries, including double TPLO surgery, so keeping his nails really short is important because when they get too long, it affects their walking gait, which would cause more issues into his recovery. But because he disliked nail trimming so much, he used to run away from me whenever I brought those clippers out, and he was absolutely terrified of the sound of my Dremel tool. These days in 2024, it's popular for people to use start buttons and do full cooperative care in teaching their dogs to accept grooming. But I didn't have enough time for that because I needed his nails short as fast as possible. So I'm going to show you some footage and step by step of how I used more old-fashioned desensitization and counter conditioning to get the job done, all while keeping Mikey super happy. Caution: if your dog is a resource guarder around food or has bitten or has attempted to bite you when handling their body or their paws or their nails, please consult a professional. When Hounds Fly is available for consultations virtually over Zoom, and we're happy to help you out. So the first challenge to overcome is, how do you help a dog feel comfortable around this sound? Mikey used to run away and be very suspicious of this whenever I turned it on. Well, it's simple. I employed classical counter conditioning. Every single time I was going to feed him his breakfast or dinner, I would start by turning on the Dremel tool and then proceeding to do all the things that I would do to prepare his meals, such as pick up his food bowl, take his food from the fridge, its raw diet, open it up, which makes that familiar plastic sound and the smushy sound of the food going in the bowl, and he'd also get his supplements, which was glucosamine pills and also some fish oil. Now, on the first trial doing this, he didn't come to the kitchen with his tail wagging. He was still worried about the sound that was played. But he started associating over time, every single time that noise went on, food was coming. So I was creating strong positive associations with the sound of the nail Dremel. And obviously at this point, I'm not touching him or dremeling his nails. I'm simply playing the noise at a big distance and then preparing his food. Want to learn with When Hounds Fly but don't live in Toronto or Vancouver? The same materials and courses that we teach in person at our brick and mortar schools are now available online. Check out online.whenhoundsfly.com for our Puppy Start Right foundation skills and our Leash Reactivity webinar on demand. Check out the video descriptions for links to get access today. Now, this is a recording that I did later, so he's really close to the Dremel tool, but originally he was in the adjacent room, and I would simply leave the Dremel tool playing up high on the counter, and then I would just proceed to feed him at about 5-10 feet away, and he could hear the sound of the Dremel tool at a distance while eating his food. And as he got more comfortable, I started bringing the Dremel tool closer and closer to the bowl. I didn't want it to make crazy vibration sounds, so I kept it on the box. You can keep a towel or some sort of fabric underneath it so it doesn't make a jarring noise against the tile. And eventually I was able to get him so comfortable that I could leave the tool right next to the bowl where he would still happily eat. After that, I wanted to get him used to the idea that I might touch him while this was occurring. So I would just gradually start touching his shoulders, and making sure not to push him too far, but get him used to the idea that, yeah, there'll be some physical contact while this is happening. Now, at this point, I've not even done a nail yet, but by the end of day 4, this happened. I could turn on the Dremel tool, and from a dead sleep on the second floor of my house, he'd wake up and come running to the kitchen because he had now associated the nail tool, the Dremel tool sound, with food is coming. We've successfully created a conditioned emotional response. Once I had that in place, now it was time to switch things up. I wanted to get him used to the idea of being able to lick a licky mat that I had magnetized to my dishwasher while I would touch him. It's hard to hear here, but the Dremel tool is running in the background, placed on the counter far away, so he'd associate the sound of the Dremel with the licky mat and me touching him. A few more meals later, I started trying dremeling, and I was able to do it. This is later in the process, but couple keys for success is he really benefited from having a stable surface. So I found that if I supported his joints, he was more than willing to let me Dremel for a certain amount of time. But naturally, the first time I did it, I just literally did 2 seconds on one nail and called it a success. But as he got more comfortable, I got to go longer and longer and longer. But one key principle to watch out for is letting your dog tell you when they've had enough. So here, Mikey's lifted his leg and backed away, lifted his leg and backed away. So I didn't hold him by force and force him through it. I just let him lift his leg. But I would try again, and I tried to just really create a situation where he was comfortable in letting me do his nails. So I adjusted, and I found that this position in the session was more supportive for him, and then he was happy to stay in place, and then I could proceed with dremeling. So anytime he lifted his paw away, I would take my hands off to let him know that he could stop the procedure whenever he wanted to. But I found, again, the position that was comfortable for him, and he allowed me to finish doing that nail. Here's some footage of the rear nail, same idea. He likes standing on 3 legs, so even though this looks very awkward, when I look at it, he likes kicking his leg out, and I was able to do all the nails on his rear paw. But like I mentioned earlier, on the first couple trials, 1 or 2 seconds per nail, and that's it, called success. I built up slowly over days 5, 6, and 7. And because I was able to go really slowly and always let him stop and pull his leg away whenever he wanted to, that let him feel more comfortable about these procedures. And because of the relationship we have, he was more than willing to let me do longer and longer and longer pretty quickly. Remember, this is just my experience, and the time frames are based on my skill and my dog Mikey. Your experience may differ, and if you're not sure, consult a professional, including When Hounds Fly, for help. If you like this video, do me a big favor and subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. I'm looking forward to creating a lot more content finally after a very long break. And if this video helps you with your nail trimming, leave a comment and let me know how.